to Philadelphia should be number one. I mean, they destroyed the Chiefs. I know we keep showing the highlights of Xavier Worthy catching touchdowns in the last few minutes, but they annihilated the Chiefs. All right, before that, then after that, the Chiefs played well.
But they added an offensive lineman, doesn't that?
Right. I mean, really, like Josh Simmons is just going to change everything, and obviously the Chiefs are going to be really good. I'm just saying, there's no way they should be ahead of the Eagles. The Eagles have, as much as you like Simmons, Eagles got the better offensive line.
Yes.
Eagles have the better running back. Eagles have the better receivers. Eagles defense, if you could call it a wash, but right now the Eagles from last year certainly had the better defense.
They lost 9 of those players.
They still got Zach Bond, who was almost defensive.
They have Zach Bond, Jalen Carter, and the 2 rookie defensive backs.
And DeJean and Mitchell. Yeah. I mean, that's 4. And they got the defensive coordinator who turned the whole thing around.
And they lost the offensive coordinator.
They lose the offensive coordinator every year.
Right. I mean, that's nothing to Jalen Hurts and a winning quarterback. So. And then we have to look. Andy Reid obviously has the coaching edge, although he didn't look great in the Super Bowl.
Why is that?
But this will support you, Wilds. I'm not ready to say Sirianni's better than Andy Reid. That's what I'm saying.
Are you ready to say that, Wilds?
I'm willing to say it's obvious when I saw them play, and one guy. The score was, what was the score at half?
Hold on. Can I ask a question then?
I'm not ready to say Nick Sirianni, who's been to two Super Bowls and they just played a Super Bowl. And who could have had a better coaching job?
Hold on. Wait.
I would probably go with Andy.
I mean, hold on.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with Andy Reid. I'm just
saying not obvious. No, there's an argument to make. Andy Reid's
obvious.
Yeah, I mean,
first of all, it's not obvious. You can't say it's obvious when they have coached against each other.
But so hold on. This is the question that I'm asking.
Okay.
Is that every? Because it feels like that's the argument you make for everyone on the Eagles against everyone they win against. Is that in this instance? So is that? I'm just curious if that's just across the board how it works.
Well, I'll say this. Since Sirianni has been a head coach, he has won a higher percentage of games than Andy Reid has.
No, well, let's show. Look at this. Hold on. Look at this.
Since Sirianni was the coach.
Right. Since Sirianni, go ahead, bro.
Look at the graphic.
Go over it.
Since Sirianni, he is the 3rd winningest coach in the Super Bowl era.
Yes.
Since he's been coached.
Since he's been coached. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it. I thought I had
He's the only coach ever in his first 4 years to make the playoffs every year and make the Super Bowl twice. And that was a 4-win team when he got there. Yeah. So I was gonna just say Sirianni is a very good coach and you gotta give him props. I wasn't ready to say he's better than Andy Reid. So
let me now address this piece of it.
I'm not saying he's better than him. I'm not willing to concede Andy Reid's obviously better than Sirianni.
I understand what you're saying, but I want to address the other things you said. What is not accurate is that since Sirianni has been a head coach, does he have a better winning percentage in that time frame than Andy Reid? Absolutely, unequivocally, no.
I have that stat wrong. Josh, can you tell me in the ear what our Sirianni stat is that I keep on getting wrong?
I mean, it's not that he has
really close.
He doesn't have a better winning percentage over the last 4 years or 5 years or whatever than the Chiefs head coach, because the Chiefs have won more games than every team in the league over that same time frame.
All right, then I must be getting something wrong.
No,
Sirianni has.
He might have a higher career winning percentage than Andy Reid because we're talking about a 25-year career for Andy Reid. But you're saying since he came into the league, who has the better winning percentage? Also, it is very impressive that Nick Sirianni has been to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, and he has been to 2 Super Bowls in his 4 years as the Eagles head coach, right? It's almost as impressive being to 3 of the last 3 Super Bowls and winning 2 of them. They are 1-1 against each other in Super Bowls, and this idea,
What's Sirianni's 2-1 against him? 2-1 against
the last 3. Well, I think they played one other time. I think they played one. Last 3 games, Sirianni.
They're 2-2. They're 1-1 in the regular season. They're 1-1 in Super Bowls, and it is. We cannot be.
And if they both went 4-12 this next year, Sirianni would be on the hot seat, and Andy Reid wouldn't.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not ready to go.
So, but if Andy Reid's a great coach because he wins, and Sirianni is also just wins. How come Andy Reid's automatically better than Sirianni?
Because we have Wilds. The same reason why if we were 6 months removed from the 2017 Super Bowl and someone said, I'm not ready to say that Bill Belichick is obviously better than Doug Peterson, you would say that's ridiculous.
Was Doug Peterson winning at a historic rate?
At that point, yes. He won a Super Bowl his first year.
Well, give me one.
Or was it his first or second year? You guys can correct me, but he won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback right when he got there. He was winning at a historic rate.
Yeah, he ran a Philly special.
And exactly. And so, like, I mean,
it's the sample size is much. It's too small.
I mean, it's
to
just,
me
it's
to
just
say
outrageous.
Sirianni's
It's not
better.
outrageous. In fact, what's outrageous is we saw the Super Bowl. You talked all year about a dynasty. A guy and a quarterback came in here and demolished the Kansas City Chiefs. But all of a sudden, there's no consequences to anyone's reputation. Patrick Mahomes is still the best. Andy Reid is still the best. The defense is still the best. Travis Kelce is still great. There has to be some consequences for the Chiefs for getting humiliated in the Super Bowl. That's just fair.
They were on the verge of doing something that no other team had ever done.
This is bananas.
Okay, I get it. But here's what.
It was a bad game. It was a bad game for them. But like historic, they were on a doing something historical.
You're saying there should be harsher consequences for the Chiefs finishing the most successful 3-year stretch in the history of the league. That they should be knocked for that. That's what you're saying.
They should just be number 2 on the team.
Well, that's a separate.
And what you're saying, though, and I'm going to let this clip play, but what Nick is saying is, though, the fact that the Eagles demolished that team that was apparently the greatest team in the greatest 3-year stretch in the history of the NFL and demolished them in true historic fashion. Literally record-setting loss and humiliated the Chiefs in a way that had never been done before. That the Eagles don't deserve that extra credit, like that extra oomph to elevate them. That's really the source of Wild's argument here, is that there's just no repercussions for the Chiefs losing. And Nick's like, well, why should there be? This was the most amazing stretch. And it's like, okay, if you want to say that there's no repercussions for the Chiefs, how do you then not give no benefits for the Eagles for doing what they did? That you just say, nah, whatever. Like that's the imbalance here significantly.
If we want to say that the Eagles should be ahead of them, that's like, I understand that, and the Eagles were ahead of them in the final tiers of the 2024 season. We've now turned the page to the 2025 season. That's fine. But the idea that we must be, and again, the Eagles were extraordinary in that game. Hurts was extraordinary in that game. And Sirianni turned it around from after being on the hot seat in week 4 to only losing once the rest of the way, and he deserves credit for that. But we were, the fact that we were all in agreement that going into that Super Bowl, we were one game away from there being an argument of, is Andy Reid unequivocally a top 2 coach of all time if he wins that game? And now you're saying it's now a fair argument. Is he a top 2 coach in the league right now?
I'm not willing to say it's obvious. I'm just not letting that pass on the show. It's obvious he's better. I'm like, man, I don't think it's super. I don't know if it's super obvious.
Okay.
One of the reasons it's not obvious is there was a televised matchup between the 2 coaches.
Yeah,
it's obvious this boxer would beat this boxer, and the one boxer knocks the other boxer out. It's obviously he's the best. I'm like, I'm not willing to say it's obvious.
But instead of it being boxers, it's teams, right?
Yes. But it's the head coach of the team, right?
So, but it's the head. But it's the okay. I mean,
how do you want to judge the coach? Vibes?
No, I think
Hawaiian shirts?
I think
hamburger consumption?
I think overall body of work is fair. I think that should play a piece.
Let's look at then it's not obvious when one guy's winning percentages here and the other guy's winning percentages there. That's obvious.
And because you are.
And then when they play head to head in the last 3, they're.
And what overall success since your guy's been a head coach? I didn't even know you were this serious. Like, I don't even think you believe what you're saying.
I don't like the obviousness of it. It's not obvious when the score is 36-0.
Who's the best head coach in the NFL?
Right now?
Yeah.
Remains to be seen.
Okay. That was a clip, man. That was a clip. Okay. So as I had already said about this whole thing about, like, there has to be some sort of, I don't know if repercussion is the right word, but, you know, there has to be an updated evaluation of what we've seen unfold. And The problem is that no matter what happens for a team like the Chiefs, whether they win or lose, Nick still is like firm and like, this is the way this is. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it's like in a game now where they get absolutely dominated, the fact that you're now not like the fact that you still want to say, well, this was the best 3-year stretch we've ever seen. And it's like, but then the Eagles dominated that team. They just destroyed them. And if we want to keep using these head-to-head arguments or, you know, the last time we saw these two teams play, which Nick does all the time when discussing the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, and the Cincinnati Bengals. He does that all the time. All the time. All the time. And if you want to use that same logic, well, then the team that has been historically brilliant and amazing, this Philadelphia Eagles team destroyed them. Therefore, that Philadelphia Eagles team is significantly better than that historically unbelievably amazing team. So, like, that's the disconnect. I understand after that loss, if you don't want to drop the Chiefs down to, like, you know, 8th or something, like, I understand that. But this is the problem when you keep backing yourself in a corner. And this is what I said earlier, like months ago now, and even before the Super Bowl ever took place, is that the Chiefs losing needed to happen in order to have real sports conversations again. Because all throughout last offseason, with each week that passed with the rankings, it was just, of course, the Chiefs are the best. Of course, this is the best run we've ever seen, right? Every time they won another game, this is the best 3-year stretch in the history of the NFL. And I would say, well, I don't think they're as great. And, you know, I've already went through this a million times. And everyone's like, whoa, you're a clown, you're this, you're that, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And even Wilds and Brew, like, they could never push back too firmly. Because Nick could be like, this team hasn't lost since Christmas of last year when Patrick Mahomes was up late opening up presents with his children, right? And it was just like, and they have the longest active playoff win streak in the NFL right now. And it was just like, that's, of course, they're number one. And, like, it's interesting because now Nick is talking about, well, the Eagles lost all these players. They lost this person and this person and this person. And it's like, that's what the Chiefs did from 22 to 23 and 23 to 24. And yet you didn't care about any of that. He said, it doesn't matter. Well, Rashee Rice and Pacheco are down. Nope, doesn't matter. They're still the best team in the NFL. It's like, really? They haven't been playing well. They haven't lost since Christmas. And it's like, well, what's the story here? And that's the inconsistency. That's the frustrating part of the whole thing. And listen, like I've been on the record from the jump of all of this, you know, even like after the Eagles won, we started already talking about, you know, what are the rankings next year? Like, I don't automatically put the Eagles number one either, just because they won the Super Bowl. Like, I really don't, because that was last year, and the Eagles have embodied that better than any other team that I've seen. Like, they've absolutely echoed what I had been saying for the last couple of years, really, that last year doesn't mean anything to me in terms of evaluating it. That's why I always say last year doesn't matter, last year doesn't matter, last year doesn't matter. And I always have random people in the comment section be like, of course it matters. And it's like, no, it doesn't. And it's like, now you have the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles team be like, last year means nothing. This is an absolute new year. And so I firmly believe that. But like, you know, if we're going to kind of play this rankings game to just automatically put the Chiefs up top is just, you know, it's just silly. And now, since they lost and since they got dominated, it does empower the Wilds and the Brews of the world to be able to give more pushback and be like, all right, this week after week after week, the Chiefs are just automatically number one. Like, you know, it's a little bit more fun and a little bit more trolling when they keep winning, even if they're not perfect. Like, you can still be like, ha 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 ha, I'm at the top. But you just got humiliated in the Super Bowl, and now you're still trying to do it. Like, it's just. Like, Wilds was genuinely, like, annoyed. And Wilds called out Nick about a month or so ago, where he was just like, Mahomes is always at the top of this mountain. Like, why would anyone tune in to watch this? I mean, like, those were his words. Like, he straight up was like, why would anyone tune in and watch if everyone already knows what it's going to be? That was Wilds saying that. And it was just like, so there obviously is this kind of just like, come on, like, we have to be more fluid. And this is what I've been, you know, begging everyone to be like, we have to be more fluid and flexible with our rankings. Like, it was not interesting to me in terms of just the discussions that we're having, like in the comment section, the media, whatever it may be, just to be like, well, of course the Chiefs are automatically number one. And, you know, it's week 8. They've only lost, whenever they lost their game, you know, they only have one loss and they're the back-to-back champions. And it's like, well, they're not playing as great as they're. Why are we saying that they're automatically, well, we know they're going to get to the Super Bowl because they always do. And it's like, we don't definitely know that. And then it's just like, this is where they then move the goalpost, because it's just like, We're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to three-peat. We're the best. We're the best. We're the best. Then you get annihilated and you're like, well, at least we made the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes had all the, the injuries and this and that. And it's like, but you told me all throughout the season how amazing your team was and how amazing Mahomes is and Andy and this and this and this and this. And that you wouldn't even remotely entertain the idea that you're not the best team in the NFL. You freaked out and lost. I'm talking about fans now, not Nick. But you freaked out at any notion of that being the case. And then when they lost, it's just like, what do you want them to do? And it's just like, that's just wrong. I mean, it really is. That's just wrong. And then at least if you're going to have that opinion, be like, yeah, I was wrong last season. I was wrong. I thought the Chiefs were better than the Eagles or just the top team in the NFL. They clearly were not. Admit that then. But there's not the admitting. It's just kind of whoa, what did you want them to do? And it's you're not really admitting that you had it wrong the whole way and that you blasted everyone for having any type of opposing view. And it is just bizarre. Again, we could say that the Eagles don't get the benefit of winning the Super Bowl and dominating the Kansas City Chiefs in a way that we had never seen before. And yet, at the same time, we're saying that this Chiefs team is so amazing, so historic, the greatest 3-year stretch in the history of the NFL. And yet the Eagles just don't get anything extra for doing that. It just doesn't add up, man. The math's not math in there. I don't agree that Sirianni is better than Andy Reid. That is I will stand firm in that. I get what Wilds is saying. If we're gonna continue this is where logic can trip you up, and this is why you guys know this. For me, I'm all about the logic, and I really enjoy breaking down these debates from a logic and flawed logic standpoint. But this is where Wild's logic, though, you can either look at it that it's flawed logic or that it's going too far. Because you're just Sirianni right now is on an absolute amazing pace, a legitimate historic pace, winning a Super Bowl 2 out of 4 years, got the Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And therefore, it's not obvious that he's better than Andy Reid, because what Wilds is essentially saying is yeah, we know Andy's an amazing coach, but they've now played 3 times, and Sirianni and the Eagles have won twice, and Sirianni has beaten Andy Reid in a way that Andy has never beaten them, especially in the Super Bowl. And Sirianni's not also at a historic pace, so who's to say that Sirianni's not going to one day become the best coach in the NFL in NFL history? Why do we tamper that when it's Sirianni but not another coach? We're willing to say it for McVay. We'd be willing to say it for Andy Reid. We'd be willing to say it for some of these other coaches, but not for Sirianni, right? If Sean McVay now beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in this way, people would not be so quick to say, of course it's not obvious. You would have people say, yeah, Andy Reid's amazing, but it's not obvious that he's better than Sean McVay. They would say he's got Patrick Mahomes, they would kind of make this argument. And again, I believe that Andy Reid is a better coach. I absolutely positively believe that Andy Reid is a better coach. But this is what's also really funny, because Nick's well, isn't it a team game? Now he's isn't it a team game? It's where is that energy when you're talking about why the Ravens lose, why the Bills lose, why Patrick Mahomes keeps winning? Where is that energy? Now it's a team game. That's the thing. And it's so funny because I'd already made the clip from this very video where he's Eagles fans, make up your minds. Do you have the best O-line or not? Do you have this? And it's just you got to make up your own mind too, Chiefs fans. You're the ones that just keep kind of making stuff up. But you always want us to say that it's, head to head. That it's Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. And it's nothing to do with the team at all. But now that the Eagles win, you don't want to then tag Mahomes and Andy, because you're well, it's a team. What are you going to do? And it's but then why is it not that in any other situation? And when they win, it's not that. It's just Mahomes and Andy. And again, I'm consistent. I always say that it's a team. That's why I'm I don't blame Josh Allen for losing, right? And it wasn't. And I saw Jalen Hurts significantly outplay Patrick Mahomes in that first Super Bowl, but they lost. That's the way those things go sometimes. And I stand firm that the Eagles were simply the better team. Like, I don't blame Patrick Mahomes or Andy for that loss in that Super Bowl. The Eagles were significantly better, okay? They were the significantly better team, and their game plan was executed both offensively and defensively flawlessly. And there was no answer. There was nothing to be done. No magical adjustment, no magical third quarter, game plan. There was nothing to be done, okay? Nothing to be done. And that's the way it goes, man. That's the way it goes. But, this conversation has, the Philadelphia Eagles winning really was the perfect scenario for what I had mapped out, where I was like, the Chiefs need to lose to save sports talk, for us to be able to get back to having real, honest conversations about sports. But with the Eagles winning, it made it even greater, because I don't think we have these types of conversations if the Rams win, if the 49ers win, if it was the Commanders, the Detroit Lions. I don't think you have these conversations. It's the fact that it was the Philadelphia Eagles that really just broke a lot of people's brains, and they just and the fact that the Eagles have been so good. Like, again, you like, Nick would be confident in saying that the Chiefs are a better franchise than the Philadelphia Eagles, and you would say, like, look what we've done over these last years, and it's like, well, the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls since 2017, and the Philadelphia Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls since 2017. So it's just like, we can, squish all these numbers together all you want, but it's just like, you beat Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy, 2 quarterbacks who you think are awful, and yet the Philadelphia Eagles beat who Nick Wright believes are the 2 best quarterbacks of all time against the 2 best franchises, again, according to Nick, of all time. So what the heck does that make the Philadelphia Eagles? That's what I want to know. What does that make the Philadelphia Eagles? And it was done in clearly not a fluke way. You could make the argument that the New York Giants beating the Patriots was a lot more fluky than anything else. You can't make that argument with either of those Philadelphia Eagles teams. You just can't. I mean, like, it's just the argument is just fundamentally not there. It's just not. And so that's where I'm just like, what does this make the Philadelphia Eagles then? How can you be this great for this long, this well run, and yet still so disrespected? And I want to know why, when a team like the Rams lose people, or the Chiefs lose people, that it's just like, well, it's all fine. They got people coming up in the ranks. Like, I forget who it was on the Eagles. I just saw like a soundbite. One of the defensive players, I can't think of his name right now. I think it's someone on the D line. I don't want to say any names because I don't want to say the wrong name. But he was pretty much just like, this is the way how the Eagles operate. It's just like someone else leaves, and now it's like next man up to kind of take over and be that guy. And he's like, I'm excited to be that guy now, to kind of take over. And it's just like, last year, you're saying, oh, the Eagles lost all these guys. Last year, you didn't think all those guys were anything. And now this year, who they have right now, you also don't think that these are that they're anything. You didn't think the O-line was anything. Now you're saying that the O-line's awesome. You didn't think the defense was great. Now you're saying the defense was so great, but now they lost guys. What are they going to, like? It's just like that. That's where we just kind of just keep drowning in our own wrong takes. And it's just really the media version of just digging a bigger hole, right? And it's just like, it's hard to keep up with all the inconsistencies of logic, honestly. And once you draw one wrong conclusion, things really do get messy. If you remember back in the old days of doing like algebra and learning, it's like you could do the whole thing correctly, but if you mess up one of the things a little bit higher, like at the top of the equation, even though you're doing everything else, even though when you get to the bottom and you say 5 + 5 is 10, like that is correct, and then 10 divided by 2 is 5, like absolutely that's all correct, but you messed up, 3 rows up, 4 rows up, and now the whole thing ends up being wrong. Even the part of this math is right, everything else is wrong. And that's really what we have here with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's like you're messing up the initial equation in the very beginning of the first couple of steps, and so maybe the math sounds right down the stretch, but you don't got the right answer. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you believe that they should be ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think Coach Sirianni, big old Nick Sirianni, is better than big old Andy Reid? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.